日へモータースポーツタイムウェンズデー F1 タイムライブオンダゾーン。
第5戦決勝です。よろしくお願いします。結構落ちるらしいですね、ドローン。
2025F1 世界選手権第5戦サウジアラビアグランプリ決勝の時間がやってまいりました。解説中野真二さんです。よろしくお願いします。
はい、お願いします。
ファンゾーンには笹原右京選手参加してくださっています。実況は拓選手です。さあ、このサウジアラビアグランプリ、このジェッタのサーキットですが、どんなサーキットでしょう。
まあ長いストレート、そしてシケイン、
はい、
で高速コーナーですよね。まあモンサなんかとちょっと違うのは、まあダウンフォースは同じように少ないんですけども、
はい、
このまあ違いっていうのは高速コーナーが本当に多いということなんですよね。はい、200キロオーバーのコーナーがいくつあるんだろうな、これかなりたくさんあるんですけども、はい、まあダウンフォースが少ないというところで、まあこのコーナーに難しくしてますよね。
はい、27個のコーナー、DRSゾーンは3つです。昨シーズンよりもタイヤがコンパウンド1つ柔らかくなりました。ソフトの赤は C5、ミディアムの黄色は C4、そしてハードの白は C3 となります。この1つ柔らかくなったのがレースにどう影響するか注目でもあります。そして注目といえばスターティンググリッドということになります。オーダーを後方から見ていきましょう。まずは最後尾10列目からとなります。ボルトレートが20番手スタート、そしてエステバン・オコンは19番手から9列目参りましょう。18番手スタートはヒルケンベルグ、そしてジャック・ドゥハ17番手スタート。続いて8列目です。ランス・ストロールが16位、そしてベアマンが15位を上回っています。14番手スタートがアジャ、そしてフェルナンド・アロンソが13番手。
3くらいですかね。
6列目です。リアム・ローソンが12番手スタート、そしてアルボンがトップ10の外、11番手からポイント圏内を狙っていきます。ではそのポイント圏内トップ10ですね。ノリスクラッシュがありまして10番手から後方からのスタートになりました。ガスリー9番手、そして4列目8番手から角田がビッグポイントを狙っていきます。ハミルトンがその前に立ちはだかる第7位ということですね。6位がサインズ、ナイス予選でした。そしてアントネリ驚異の新人は5番手から2列目です。4番手がルクレール、そしてラッセル3番手。1列目フロントローですが、2番手に2勝目を挙げたピアストリ、3勝目になるかどうか。フェルスタッペンがまた驚異の予選でポールポジションとなっています。こちらは今シーズン2勝目を狙うということで、こう見るとやっぱ改めて今回結構面白いラインナップというかランニングオーダーということになってますね。
かなり面白いですね。まあ、フェルスタッペンがねトップに来たということで、レースがかなりまず面白くなりますよね。
さあタイヤが出てますね。ほぼミディアムですが、ハードを選んだのがノリス、アジャ、ストロール、ヒュルケンベルクです。
ノリス、
戦略変えてきましたね。だから、まあ、第1戦略がミディアムハード、第2戦略がハードミディアムなんですよ。なので、まあ、逆を取ってきたってことですね、ノリスはね。
まあ簡単に抜けないだろうなっていうのがあるんで、ハードで、まあ、とにかく、まあ、うまくすればしっかりついていって、順位を1つ2つ上げながらついていって、引き伸ばして、そこでまあセーフティーカーが出てくれるみたいなタイミングを、まあ、一発優勝、逆転優勝を狙うにはそれしかないっていうのがあると思うんで、まあ、ノリスのこの作戦っていうのはある意味、
面白いですね。
面白いですよね。
50周のレースですが、一応ピレリが想定している、70センチというこの高さはシーズンで一番背の高いトロフィーなんだそうですね。
去年までツとあんだけ競ってたの忘れてる人多いよな。洗うマーク上のどん底に落ちていたわけですが、すぐのタイミングも気をつけないと。オウムオンスね、1ストでしょうね。
カウントランも吸ってますけど、でピレリの想定がミディアムの場合16から22周目、もしここで全員ピンとしてハード勢が引っ張ってハードは28から34って言われてるんですけど、この間ね、レディーですね、こ の間でもしセーフティーカーが入ったらハード勢は一気
アン
にチャンス
セーフキングサンチェ
チャンスですからね、はい、大逆転になるんで、
はい、さあ
このシナリオは大いにありますからね、ここはね。
時間夜8時を迎えました。日本では午前2時ということでフォーメーションラップスタートです。改めて50周のレースですが、ピレリの、この後表示があると思いますけども、レースストラテジーとしてはミディアムハードが第一戦略、多くの車がミディアムスタートですね。ハードスタートの車が、4台ということになりますけれども、ハード、ミディアムというのが、セカンドベスト、あとは2ストップがサードベストとしてミディアムハードハードというのも一応想定には入ってます。これはまあでもセーフティーカードがあった場合とかいろいろどうなんですかね。
まあでも本当セーフティーカーがなんか入って、まあでもハード入ってるとまあタイミングにもよりますけどね。
まあ、やっぱり今画面上はこの2個ってことになってますね、ワンストップだろうと。ですからまあ19っていうのはこれ真ん中だと思うんですね。19プラスマイナス3ラップ、31プラスマイナスの3ラップ、これがそれぞれの、タイヤ交換の、まあ、想定となりますが、最近よくわからないって
わからないですよね。
ド外れする時もあるんで、
はい、
まあ、今回はそれなりにねフリー走行してるのでデータは取れてるとは思うんですが、さあノリスは10番手からどんなレースをするのか。まあ、ピアストリートのチャンピオンシップ今3点リードはしてますけれどもね。サウジアラビアでは毎回必ずセーフティーカーがこれまで4回のレースありますけれども出てると、はい、100% ですね、セーフティーカー出動率が。
まあね、壁に囲まれているサーキットでランホイエリアがないですからね、はい、しかも、まあ、いわゆるそのブラインドコーナーと言われているコーナー、まあ、いわゆるね、コーナーがね、先が見えないコーナーが多いんで、何かが起こった瞬間にやっぱり危険が他のサーキットと比べても本当にこう倍以上のリスクがあるサーキットでもあるんで、すぐに出ますよね。
メンタルやられてるの気になる。
改めてノリス・ピアストリーのドライバーチャンピオンシップの差が3点、逆転のチャンスがピアストリーが来ています。フェルスタッペンがその、ピアストリーから5点後ろ、ラッセル・ルクレール、アントネッリと続いています。アントネッリがハミルトン上回ってるんですよね去年自分が乗ってた車の新人に抜かれてるというハミルトンもちょっとなかなか7度の王者としてはね、はい、ちょっと、まあ序盤とはいえなんとかしていきたい状況です。
そうですね。
さあ一周回ってきました。およそ6キロの
ノアとレクの写真派なんか悲壮感ありますね。
気温は今28度、路面温度38度、湿度 71%、 風はほとんどありません。ちょっと暑そうですね。
センスですね。
ねえ、ねえ、素敵です。こちらはアルボンのオンボード。アルボンは11番手、前にいるのがノリス。
魔物強派出勤率 100%。
グリッドにつくのが見えました。
それに比べうちのマッサちゃんと来たら、
こちらレッドブルの
魔物
ガレージ内、
眠らせねえぜ。
あれ向かって右側だったんでフェルスタッペン側にいらっしゃった皆さんですね。サウジも多くの皆さんが多く集まっていると思われます。最後のボルトレートがつきますとグリーンフラッグが振られて、
そう思っていた時期が私にもありました。
まずは1コーナートラブルなく全車抜けていけるかどうかというところもこのサウジアラビアは注目です。高速のバトルです。グリーンフラッグ振られます。 2025F1 世界選手権第5戦サウジアラビアグランプリ決勝50周ライツアウトインジェダー。まずはピアストリがいいか、ピアストリがいい、伸びてくる、そしてアウトサイドからラッセル、1コーナーはピアストリだ、フェルスタッペンが飛び出たがどうだ、前で合流した。これはピアストリが2番手、ちょっと1台アントネリがアウトサイド。ど
うかな、これ戻さなきゃダメかな。
そして角田はちょっと順位下げてるかな。クラッシュ、角田だ、角田がクラッシュか。イエローフラッグ、
やっちまったな。
ガスリーと絡みましたかね。
そうですね、
角ガスで何があったんでしょう。そして、頭のフェルスタッペン、あれ
角ガス
トラックサイドから抜いて、押し出されたと見るのか。
クリップに入るところで、
角ガスが
ちょっと前にいた感じはしたんですけども、
はい、
まあただどうなるでしょうね、今のね。
角田動いてないかな、ガスリーも動いてないですね。これ
おやすみなさい。
リタイアかな、残念だな。
一瞬動きそうな。
セーフティーカーです。さあ
終了。
これでフェルスタッペン、ピアスリー、ラッセル、ルクレール、アントニー、ハミルトン、サインズ。
いや、勇気は今動き出しましたね。
あ、そうですか。
はい。
ただリアのひょっとしたら怖いのかな、見てみましょう。飛び込んだのかな。
お、もう寝てもよいな。
これはどうですか。
まあ勇気としてはもうまあ行き場がなかったですよね、今のはね。
雪動いてるな。
ガスリーはリタイア。角田は今この隊列の最後尾に今一生懸命追いつこうとしているところですが、これピッと入って調整するかどうか。あ、走れてますね。
まあ車に影響はなければね、今の、まあ、ガスリーの左のリアが勇気の、
そこで仕事しちゃ日本人から嫌われますよ。
当たってる、
はい、
はい、ようには見えたんですけど、
これはレーシングインシデントと見るべきですか。
まあそうなってしまうのかな。まあ勇気的にはもう行き場がなかったんで、ガスリーもまあ
安いです。まあそうなりますよね。僕に返してくれなきゃダメだ、僕のが前にいたよっていうね。1、2コーナーのタイヤをハードに変えた。
うわー、変えちゃうんですね。もう
これルーハンですよね。
はい、期待に添えられたかな。
これは
4年のおダメだったガスリーも不運だな。
角田もピンと入ってますね。
今確認してますよね。今、はい、
出られるかどうか。今何してるのかな、リアかな。ハードタイヤを用意はしてますね。まあワンストップでこのまま走り切っちゃおうってことなのか。
今でも
無理かな、
ダメかなこれ。
エンジン切っちゃった。ダメだ、リタイアだ。わあ残念。
バージョンとピアノ音。
これはですね、これさせてあげたかったな。
リタイア。
もう一度レーススタートです。まず伸びはピアスリー良かったですね。ここでエーペックス、ピアスリーが前にいるようには見えますね。
そうですね、ほんのまあマックスはマックスで意識的にかなりアグレッシブにエーペックスで前に出ようと、はい言ったんですけど、
で角田のオンボード、これピアストリーと横サイドバイサイドちょっと前に出ます。
アントも出てる。
まあこのコーナーね、もう行き場ないんですよね。2台並んでいけるコーナーではないんで、
はい、サインズの後ろを走ってたんですけど、
まあでもガスリーがもう少しやっぱり道を開けるべきだったように見えますけどね。抜群のスタートですね。
4.680200、この差がまあ前にはピアストリーいるようには見えますけどね。
まあこれはでもね、戻すのが賢明だと思うんですけどね、チームとしてはね。ただ前行かれてしまうとっていうのがあると思うんで。
あるもんのオンボード
並んで入るコーナーじゃないよな。
後ろローソンですね。でここでアロンソ、ここでクラッシュが見えましたね。ガスリーのオンボード、ちょっとガスリー目線で見たいですね。
はい、
隣が角田です。今画面見えないです。これですね。
2コーナー立ち上がって3コーナーで4コーナーですね。もうここね、2台入っていけないんですよ、このコーナーは。まあだからもうね、避けようがないですよね。ここもう2台でちょ いうスピン多かったですね、今ね。
セーフティーカーインですが、このラップで入ります。
ガス無理してるよね。
押し出されたよ。まあ、あのコーナー絶対あのラインだと曲がりきれなかったよね。分かったよということでしたが、さあ
曲がりきれてはいますからね。はい。
だから押し出して曲がってたんじゃないのってことを言いたいわけですよね。
マックスの方がむしろ曲がれたのかなっていうぐらいの勢いではあったんで、まあ難しい判断ですよね。これはどう判断されるのか。
さあ今のところでも調査中にはなってますね、ピアストリー。僕が言おうがいまいが、
角田走ったけど並んでしまったのが運のつき。
まあピアストリーはそうですね。だから先ほど私も申し上げた通り、だからむしろ曲がれなかったのはあのスピードはマックスかなっていうふうにも見えましたけど。
いやガソリンも角田も調子が良かっただけに残念な
そうですね。
クラッシュになってしまいました。
なんか避けようがないとか、あのコーナー、
ね、
いや本当に台入れないんですよ、あそこはもう。
さあ18台になりまして、フェルスタッペン、ピアストリー、ラッセル、ルクレール、アントネリ、ハミルトン、サインツ、ノリス、アルモン、アロンソのトップ10。今最終コーナー回るところです。その後ろアジャ、ローソン、アジャが気づいたらローソン前に出てるんですね、これね。さあどこでフェルスタッペン加速して
譲った方が賢明と思うけどな、バージョン。
4周目コントロールラインを通過するとオーバーテイクが可能になります。ピタッと後ろラッセルがついている。
クレールもいいですね。
フェルスタッペンに5秒タイムペナルティーが出た。そして1コーナーラッセルが入ってくるが、ここはピアス2番手を守った。そしてアントネリがルクレールの後ろ5番手、その後ろにハミルトン、
5秒ペナ。
サインツが7番手、ノリスは8番手です。
バージョン加速うますぎ。
タイヤを変えた組が後方にいるんで、これワンストップでそのまま行けちゃうとハード、結構この後方の車が一気に上がってくるチャンスが出てきました。
これは面白くなりますね。マックスはこれもう逃げるしかないんで、なんかさっきの、チーム判断としてね、だからもう前にマクラーレンが出てしまうと逃げられてしまうという多分意識が強かったと思うんで、譲りたくないっていうのもあったと思うんですけども、ただペナルティーが出ますよねっていう、これはどっちを取るのが良かったのかっていうのは、終わってみないと分かんないですけど、
譲らなかったということで5秒タイムペナルティー、ピアストリーはだから5秒以内にいればピットストップのタイミングで逆転が可能ということになりますね。でこれはピアストリーだけではなく、その後ろのラッセル、ルクレールあたりまでも関係してきますね。
そうですね。
次のピットストップ、フェルスタッペンは5秒静止してからのピット作業が必要ということになります。
マックスはやっぱりトップに立ったことで、何がいいかというと、本当乱気流に、影響されることなく走れるっていうのね。
そしてアジャがここでインサイドからアロンソをオーバーテイクしていくか、かなりこれはアグレッシブな動きだった。ちょっとでも取り返されてるかな、また。どうかな、前出てますね。ただアロンソもまた来ている。さあ DRS が使えるようになる。アジャ前だ。
アジャいいね。
いいですね、今のオーバーテイクね、いい判断でしたね。
アジャ元気いいね。
ファステスターフェルスタッペン1分33秒831です。さあ DRS が使えるということで、次はこのローソンです。アジャでも抜群ですね。角田悔しい。
いやでもどんなレースしてくれるのかね、見たかったんですけどね。
アジャもね、
昨日の Q3 がちょっと悔しい結果に終わっただけにね、このレースはね、この一戦一戦がユキにとっては本当にね重要なラインカーブなんで。
そうですね、レースできないっていうのがね、
いや
フェルスタッペンです。
Information, you have been given a 5-second time penalty for the incident at turn 1. Head down.
Wow, that is lovely.
Yeah, no comment. Thank you.
情報だけど5秒タイムペナルティーターン1の出来事でもらったからねって言ったら、もう P ラブリーだよって言ったら、もうそれにはコメントしないよっていう。なんか、今
ここが生き残ることが大事なんだよね。
遮られた形で何も言わなかったですね。
言っちゃダメですね。あれはもう、
ノリスはくしくも角田、ガスリがいなくなったことで2つ順位が上がったんで、ここからはディアレスを使ってオーバーテイクしたいところ、前はサインズ。
でもね、しっかりハードタイヤ全然ついていけてますね。
そうですよね。
だから後方のハード勢に関してもエストロールですよね。タイム的にはその前走るベアマンと全然遜色ないですから、これはタイヤ変えたぜ、持ってしまったとしたらこれはすごいことになっちゃいますけどね。
そういう意味ではこの予選課題ですね。乗り換えて3戦目で求めるのも酷ですが。
義務はもう果たした。このレースは必ず2つのコンパウンドのタイヤ、ソフト、ミディアム、ハードの3種類のうち2つを必ず履かなければいけない。つまりこれは同時に1回はピットストップしてくださいねということになるわけですけれども、それを一番後ろの3台はもう義務はこなしたんで、あとはタイヤさえ持てばというところですね。
ハード意外にいいのかな。このアジアのペース見てても悪くないですよね。
アジアだってむしろローソ
モ
ンの
ナコで前が取れればワンチャン。
ベルスタッペン、ピアストリが今1秒2後方、ラッセルがそこから1秒6、ルクレールまでが5秒以内です。ですから今ピットストップするとフェルスタッペンは、4番手まで落ちるということになります。
ちょっとフェルスタッペンとして逃げたいですよね。ピアストリをね引き離すのは難しいと思うんですけども、
シルバーストーンでアブ19テストするんで、それで慣れてほしい。
そしてノリスが入ってくる。サインズオーバーテイク、これで7番手。去年でいうとこのミディアムタイヤに当たるこのハード、ミディアムが去年のソフトになります。タイヤが1つ柔らかくなった1種類ずつ。ノリスオーバーテイクのシーンです。DRS を使ってサインズの後ろピタッとついて、テールトゥノーズからインサイドに飛び込んで1コーナーオーバーテイク。
ミディアム勢がねまだタイヤ元気なうちはハードタイヤでオーバーテイクしていくっていうのは難しいと思うんですけども、でも思いのほかなくハードタイヤが機能してますよね。
ラッセルがちょっとピアソリと間が空いてるのはクリーンエアを取ってるのかついていけないのか、
どっちでしょうね。でクリーンエアでっていうことのラッセルも相当頭を使って走ると思うんで、もしかしたら
other is blamed for that, then I would say it's another example that stewards don't always fully understand what it's like to be in the cockpit.
That corner is one of the tighter ones as well. I mean, not in terms of it's a faster corner, but the track width and the way that it pinches really does sort of lead to that sort of incident between Tsunoda and Gasly. Gasly looked like he had a decent shot.
7周目から8周目に入ったところですね。ラッセル、ルクレール、アントネルディ、ハミルトン、ノリスがここ7番で、サインズ、アルボンがその後ろに来ています。ウィリアムズ今8、9ですね。ダブルポイント圏内。でもここで後方3台がすぐ
Under the floodlights at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, with the window opening for the first 6 cars around lap 16. This is lap 8 of 50, and we're looking back at Alex Albon, who is currently in 9th position. Isaac Hadjar trying to do what he did in Japan earlier this year and score points in Formula 1. The DNS that did not start in Australia, 11th in China, 13th last time out in Bahrain, and the point scoring finish inside the top 10 with 8. He's looking good at the moment, and that Racing Bulls car looking in strong configuration around here. Hadjar making moves up against those running the medium tyre. Hadjar is on the hard.
Well, you can have any time you like from the top 3 as long as it's 33.8. So Russell doing enough to not quite stay right up in the DRS zone of Piastri, who is just firmly in that 1 second window, but he's doing enough at 3.3 to be in Verstappen's window. And well, all the clever engineers, of course, have got the data to back up the overall picture of what's going on in this Grand Prix. And there's a spread of cars in this early stage of the race, as we've seen in a number of the opening races. Pit stop doesn't cover the running, all the cars that are running, quite frankly. So it's a tight bunch of Grand Prix cars.
That's a 19-second stop around this circuit. It's a bit shorter than the others.
We have a track limit strike turn 2. That was for the incident at turn 1 on lap 1.
I thought they would have caught that because he said it briefly.
Roger, understood.
まあ5秒以内にはつけておきたいですね。
Well, if it was literally said in the driver's briefing, then that is, as far as the driver's trust in the race director, that's committed to what the race director will advise to the stewards. So whether that's just a systematic.
Turn 2. That was for the incident at turn 1 on lap 1. We have a track limit strike turn 2. That was for the incident at turn 1 on lap 1. Roger,
I
understood.
thought they would have caught that because he said it
ターン
何
2
言ってんだ
で
俺、寝てんのか。
トラスヒット取られてるよと。
Board, which is the same as GP will see as well. And I don't think that will count against Max. And also, there's not that many places. It's not like Bahrain where you can exceed track limits in many different areas. So I don't think that'll be a major for Max moving forward regardless. I'm sure it's just a system thing from the FIA.
Back to the start of the Grand Prix. Good launch off the line for Oscar Piastri, and even though it's 150 metres to turn 1, he was judged to be ahead. It was judged to be his corner, and Max Verstappen penalised for this moment off the road.
What, actually, just re-looking at it there, Oscar was just on the limit. Let's stay on, hopefully, on board this. Watch where the track white line is. He just keeps the left tyre inside. Had he run wide, of course, then they both would have cancelled out each other. Just on the limit of it.
So this is on board with Max Verstappen.
Knew straight away. So Oscar from the head, he's opened the brakes, and then of course will say that he wasn't able to turn in. Only he will know. We will never know. There can be, ask 10 people, you'll get 11 opinions because one of them's got a split personality.
If Oscar had have gone over those track limits as well, it would have probably negated Max's penalty. But the fact that he did just stay on means that it was Max that gained the advantage, and Oscar didn't technically exceed the track limits himself. It was very close.
So Max Verstappen continues to lead the Grand Prix, but he has the penalty hanging over him. Verstappen would take the lead of the championship if he was to win the race this evening. If it stayed in these conditions, but Lando Norris is going to have a lot of pace to improve. Only 8 points off the lead of Lando Norris before the start of this one. Max Verstappen. Oscar Piastri only 3 back, and he is in a superb position to win the race.
Just think about your gap there, go ahead with any overheating on the front. Guys, do you not see there's a car right behind me as well? Are we not thinking about that?
A
fairly robust response there from Alex Albon. I think it was a message that came in peace and love from his engineer.
Just think about your gap there, go ahead with any overheating on the front. Guys, do you not see there's a car right behind me as well? Are we not thinking about that?
Running in dirty air as the cars all are, they're on the upper end of the temperatures. So Albon being told maybe just clear of your teammate a little bit and try and maybe put a bit of lifting coast so you get off the throttle just before the braking zone and coast into the corners by a smidgen to reduce those temps. He's saying, hang on, agile breathing down my neck, 1.3 seconds back, so there's not too much to do at that point.
Tsunoda is out of the race along with Pierre Gasly. You are on board with Oscar Piastri, trying to emulate his mentor Mark Webber and take the lead of the World Championship. The last Australian driver to lead the World Championship was Mark Webber. It was 15 years ago. Piastri in a good position to take advantage of his checkmate effectively. He's happy just to run 1 second back. He's making no attempt to close up to Max Verstappen and risk a wheel-to-wheel moment. He knows that if McLaren can give him a clean pit stop and the in-lap and out-lap goes to plan, he's going to take the lead.
Tyres are hot, so yeah, clean air would be incredible.
The drivers have all of that information available to the on the dash, surface temperature, core temperature, and that's one of the
3周がチェンジオーバータイヤのウィンドウということになるわけですね。今12周。
Yeah, I mean tyres are hot.
すぐからいらっしゃいませ。わら。
Yeah, clean air would be incredible.
Practice long runs were a little bit broken up.
Norris has just upped his pace. half a second quicker than Hamilton and Antonelli ahead on the last lap, and you can see that he's trying to put the pressure now on Lewis. Get that clean air, but he's going to really have to wait for everyone else to pit before he does that, because he's got a line of cars even if he picks off the Ferrari. Piastri's close. He is putting the pressure on Verstappen. He's got 4 seconds back to Russell. This is working nicely for Max as well to open the gap to third place, but he's having to look in the mirrors here.
This is further back into the final corner of the racetrack, and Lando Norris gets past Lewis Hamilton. Norris on the hard tyre, Hamilton on the medium. And the McLaren is currently a superior car, and Hamilton hasn't given this one up. Will he go around the outside and retake the place? He will. Hamilton fighting up against his countryman, and Hamilton retakes P6, doesn't want to give up the position, and Norris will have to do it all over again.
Nice little battle, but what that will do, of course, is compromise a little bit the pace through 1 and 2. Hamilton would have gained with DRS on the front straight, but again, we talk about looking at big picture. Who are you racing, and which race are you trying to stay in? And when you start tripping over each other, you can end up losing overall lap time.
Lewis has played DRS games around here before in 2021. That DRS detection point is just before the final corner, and Lando just got ahead of Lewis at that point. By overtaking at the final corner, he allowed Lewis to come back through into turn 1. So he's got to be a bit wiser than that, because it's a chance to pass, but it's an easy chance for the rival to repass.
Just watching the way the top 3 are delivering the lap time, Max is consistently 3 or 4 tenths quicker in that first sector, and then he's matched in the middle, and then invariably a little bit down in the third, especially with the DRS being deployed by Piastri. So putting a bit more energy into the tyres. Is he going to go? He didn't want to, I think, at one point, but Hamilton's backed out of it, and as you said, Julian, playing DRS games.
So Norris goes through. He didn't want to. He wanted to wait so he could make the move into turn 1, and this is why Lewis Hamilton was happy to let him overtake, because he gets him back. Take 2, 1 lap on, and Hamilton's still the lead car in this battle for 6th.
And that is why he jumped on the anchors so much into that final corner, to kind of allow Norris to come through. The detection actually, sorry, it used to be in before that corner. It's now just on the exit. So any move into the final corner will mean that you're a sitting duck on the way out. So you kind of got to play how slow can you go at that final turn to make sure that then at the final DRS chance, you're the driver that gets the overtake.
So it used to be there, but after 22, when it was Leclerc and Verstappen, and basically after you, they moved it to the other side of the corner, and Lewis Hamilton with superb racecraft, and he's still P6 right now.
But they're tripping over each other, going a second slower than the cars in front. So Antonelli is looking at his mother saying, thank you very much.
Hamilton's just having fun out there, isn't he? He's just racing, he's just enjoying this moment of the Grand Prix, scrapping with the championship leader at the moment. And he's got no massive pressure from behind. There's 2 Williams there that probably won't be too much of a factor for Hamilton's Grand Prix over the next 36 laps.
After you, no one trying to overtake into the final corner. Lando Norris this time waits for this DRS zone. Told to play the game by his engineer. Waits for the DRS down to turn number 1. Hamilton will hug to the inside line, and the McLaren will have the greater speed. And is it finally the moment for Lando Norris to get by? It is. Finally, he is P6 after an entertaining battle between the 2. 7-time world champion up against the man who's trying to win his first in 2025.
Meanwhile, out front, there's now a second and a half between Verstappen and Piastri, and there's nearly 6 seconds between Verstappen and Russell. So, had there not been a 5-second penalty for Max, the Red Bull looks like it's a car able to fight with the McLaren out front, and maybe he still can if he can just keep extending that gap. Norris now can go and chase after Antonelli. There's 3 seconds between those 2, and this McLaren here should be able to have the pace to hunt down the second Mercedes.
Yeah, he'll now be able to get that cool air across his tyres as we go on board with Lawson on Alonso. Alonso not putting up a battle there, letting him go with his DRS. So Piastri may have just dropped back a little bit to bring his surface temperatures down. Norris gets what he was asking for, some clean air. It'll be very interesting to see now. Does Norris in that hard tyre start to nibble his lap times closer to the medium?
Piastri has to make sure that gap doesn't get close to 5 seconds. He's still under control, and maybe he is just trying to cool the tyres and go again. He's only half a second away from DRS range still, but Verstappen's pace is good. He's 4/10 quicker than George Russell on the last lap, 3/10 quicker than Leclerc. So the Red Bull's quicker than everyone, maybe even than the McLaren at the moment, but certainly it's a match for the McLaren.
It's Max Verstappen in the lead of the 5th Grand Prix of the season. Piastri sitting there 1.6 seconds behind. George Russell without the race pace compared to the one-lap speed. He was only 1/10 of a second behind pole position yesterday. Charlotte in 4th, Kimi Antonelli going very nicely P5 for Mercedes. And the 6th place finisher from the Formula 2 Championship last year in P5. Then it's Norris and this man.
Just sliding around out here, mate. Front end rears.
Yeah, understood. We believe it's overheating. Try to gain the back.
Well, as we were saying earlier, the drivers have the information on surface and core temperature of the tyres. So, Julian, maybe more recently behind the wheel, is that the engineer sort of slightly doing part sports psychologist by giving Lewis a focus? Because Lewis has got that information without even getting on the radio. It's not like it'll come as a great surprise to him where he's trying to
yes, but also sometimes it is nice just to have that information again just drilled into you, because the engineers do see all these numbers, and Lewis has been in the thick of battle for the last couple of laps. He's been using the traction a lot, trying to keep ahead of Lando, braking hard as well at turn 1. So then actually when you start to feel that the tyres are going away, we may be getting towards a pit stop window should they want it. It is good, I think, at that point for him to be reminded that actually you can cool the tyres a little bit, use that lift and coast, and you've got, again, no pressure from behind, and you can get this tyre to go on. There's sort of thermal degradation, and then there's just plain wear in the tyres, and at the moment it's a bit of thermal that they're struggling with. They can be cooled, and they can live on.
Well, an update on the comparison on tyres. You had Piastri and Norris, the best direct comparison we could get. Absolutely the same lap time on that last lap. Both in relatively, we've got to say, clean air. But Norris a couple of seconds or so behind Antonelli. Piastri getting close to that 2 seconds. So the hard tyre is coming into its window.
And we are developing a battle for the Grand Prix lead. Talked about the checkmate that we saw earlier. When you're within DRS, when it's 0.7 of a second, it's one thing. Last time around, Max Verstappen a 1:33.7, Oscar Piastri a 1:34.1. The gap is now 2.4 seconds. If it keeps ticking up, the pressure on that McLaren pit stop will only get even more intense than it already is. And every pit stop for the Formula 1 race lead is always high pressure on the shoulders of the mechanics.
Throws away one of his tear-offs. See how delicately he made sure it was up and away from anything that could affect the cooling. Always a slight risk that it could find its way into your rear wing. You'd think, actually, given this digital age and all of the technology in Formula 1, we'd come up with a better way of replenishing the visor. I think in motocross have a kind of little windy thing that effectively brings up the film across, therefore it's not deposited on the racetrack.
This super high-tech sport with this prototype technology, and if it isn't your drinks bottle causing trouble, it's your tear-off potentially causing an issue. Fernando Alonso is the driver on the left-hand side of your screen. He's within DRS of Liam Lawson. Everyone trying to eke this first stint out as long as possible. The gap out front now has grown again, 2.7 seconds between Verstappen and Piastri.
And Verstappen is the fastest man on circuit. Still, Russell radios and said his tyres are toast. So Verstappen is at least in second place in this race and quite comfortably there. And there could even be a sort of undercut in play for Max as well. The 19-second gap would now bring him out right with Lewis Hamilton and very soon ahead of Lewis Hamilton. So if Max can bolt on some tyres and do a really punchy couple of outlaps, he might be able to take this 5-second penalty and stay ahead of Oscar at this point. It's time for Piastri to hop on it.
Yeah, and Piastri going slower now by 3/10 on that previous lap than Norris. So again, just emphasising the hard tyre is not dropping away. that's not the case here in Saudi, but cleaner air over his tyres.
Lando Norris is getting past Kimi Antonelli. 5th place for Lando Norris, who's had good pace on that hard tyre. He's cleared many cars now, 10th on the grid, up to 5th position, and Norris able to easily get by. Norris reduced that gap, it was 3 seconds. He caught and passed the Mercedes man. He's up to P5.
Antonelli's struggling quite a lot as well. He's a second slower than those at the front, and Piastri is pitting, so they're having to react because Verstappen is driving away from him. So the undercut is on Piastri's side here to make sure he puts on some new tyres and stays within a net 5 seconds of Verstappen.
They cannot invite any more pressure with that gap at 2.9, knowing that Max Verstappen will have to serve a 5-second penalty before Red Bull can service the car. That's Oliver Behrman in your picture, who was a point scorer here last year with Ferrari. A key moment in the destiny of who takes home the largest trophy tonight.
Still pulling away from the car behind Max. Still traffic that we were pit into. Just keep going. This is a fantastic job.
McLaren don't appear to be trying to pull a dummy. The mechanics have made their way out into the pit lane.
This is a big moment in the Grand Prix. McLaren bring in their lead contender for victory. Oscar Piastri has not been happy with these tyres for many laps. McLaren watched that gap grow. Piastri said on the radio he wasn't happy with the mediums. It's a steady stop, but it gets him back into the race. 3.4 seconds. Will Red Bull respond? What can Max Verstappen do on the mediums? Piastri will have the fresh rubber as he rejoins the circuit.
Left rear was slightly slow. Antonelli's in as well. And there could be a second in that for Verstappen. If Red Bull can nail it, could be just over a second, which will put Verstappen very, very close to Oscar Piastri. Oscar's fed out behind Lewis Hamilton then by a couple of seconds. That's the gap that Max was just about to clear as well. But of course he has a 5-second penalty, which would put him right with Oscar Piastri. So can Max keep digging in, and can Oscar now get on it on this outlap and make sure he keeps himself within the net 5 seconds?
Yeah, this is a fascinating part of the race. Piastri does have a bit of clean air to Hamilton. Just looking, we're directly opposite the Red Bull pit box. There is mechanics standing.
And there's one Red Bull left in the race. The Grand Prix win is on the line. Max Verstappen is rarely passed in the final stint of a Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri came into the pits. He took on new tyres. It wasn't McLaren's fastest stop. It was 3.4 seconds. And will Red Bull take the moment to respond? They will not. Verstappen goes again. And that is a big call in the destiny of the Grand Prix win.
Yeah, we now have to see what the lap times are for Piastri as he continues.
ここでプッシュするとフェルスタッペンは5秒のストップの後でピアストリの後ろハミルトンの前で戻れるというですね。これがちょっと
It was 3.5 seconds with a good pit stop there.
まだプッシュしてますね。もう1ラップいきます。まあさっき22秒だったんですけど、本当は21秒だと思うんで、21足す5で26秒後方だとちょうど今サインズが26秒後方なんで。
Rejoins the racetrack in 7th place. Alex Albon having to get defensive up against Isaac Hadjar. Albon on fading medium tyres. Hadjar with a slightly more durable soft hard compound, I should say. Whitewalled hard compound for the Racing Bulls, and that's the car we're on with at the moment.
And with the pit stops ahead as well, Russell coming in and Antonelli coming in. Norris has got a little bit of clear air to Leclerc, who will surely be coming in soon as well. And he's just done his personal best lap of the race, as Verstappen is told to absolutely give it the beans on this lap. He may well be looking at an in-lap soon.
Yeah, well, I think the reason they're giving that is this man here, Hamilton. He's right on the cusp of not being able to get past him.
And Piastri going very brave to a dirty, dusty part of the racetrack to make the move into turn 23. He had to keep all 4 wheels on the road, and he did so. Check the gap, though. What has he lost trying to overtake the 7-time world champion? It's 21.5 seconds as Verstappen hits from the lead.
Yeah, crucially, though, that might have held Hamilton a little bit, which will mean when Verstappen comes out, he'll clear him.
I think he'll be behind both of them, but he's got to cover off Russell as well, remember, because Russell's just pitted on the last lap.
Charles Leclerc goes through, Lando Norris running long as well. Max Verstappen had a tidy pit stop and Hamilton remains in the wheel tracks of Oscar Piastri, who is the lead car to have stopped in the Grand Prix. McLaren went early, they made the call. Verstappen has fresher tyres, he will try and attack, and we'll see how the cars fare. It looked like, for all of McLaren's prowess when it comes to tyre degradation, that the Red Bull, with the clean air, had the better of the medium. How will they fare on the hard? Either way, that first turn, 5-second penalty, effectively switching our net race leader. It's currently P3, it will be P1.
Brave pass from Piastri, unconventional part of the circuit, the first chance with the DRS, and through he slid.
Yeah, that was gutsy to run it out onto the dust with the DRS, and then Hamilton there, I think, slightly taken aback.
So that was really brave stuff from Oscar Piastri. Knew he had to make the move instantly and cleanly. We're looking at the new race leader, yet to stop in the race, Charles Leclerc, who was a really frustrating character yesterday after qualifying. Put it P4. But he said that was the maximum. That's everything he had yesterday, and he was frustrated to see that he was 0.4 of a second away from the pole position time. It's frustrating if you can't quite get there through an error, but for Charles Leclerc, even more frustrating. Well, it was a brilliant lap, and he was still 0.4 of a second away.
He's got good race pace once again, though, as we see the real race leaders here. Piastri with Hamilton in between him and Max Verstappen, and Max is right with Lewis now.
Let's see how many tires go.
23周だとピレリの想定の最長が22だったんです。
How these tires go, and this is not a great place for Verstappen to be catching Hamilton. Is he going to get brave like we saw with Oscar Piastri? But right now, fresher tires against old tires, he's just losing a chunk of time through this section.
Lewis Hamilton heading into turn 13. So much high-speed stuff through the first section of the racetrack. We're into the second one, and you can see that Max Verstappen is all over the back of the Ferrari, but no clean place to pass, and he's restricted to the Ferrari speed. All the while, Piastri building a gap.
So much more pace on these fresh tyres, absolutely swarming over the back of the Ferrari. This is where Oscar then made the move around the outside, and Max doesn't fancy it. He'll wait for the more conventional spot, which could be at the final corner now. But then you've got the DRS gains into the first corner again. So, what does Max do, and does Lewis put up a fight?
Lewis Hamilton's going to come into the pits, so Verstappen was going to get the place anyway. He goes around the outside of Lewis Hamilton, and Hamilton will peel into the pit lane. Verstappen gets through. He's 3.7 seconds away from Oscar Piastri after Hamilton's end-of-stint pace enlarged the gap between the McLaren and the Red Bull.
Yeah, that was costly, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, and that's a further compound onto that 5-second penalty.
Leclerc stays out, Norris of course stays out on that hard tyre. He's going to go long, and he's just done his personal best lap of the race, 4/10 slower than his teammate, who's slowly catching him, having made the pit stop. Verstappen's now unleashed into fourth, and is a direct 4 seconds away from Piastri, with Russell 3 seconds back and snookered by the Red Bull pace in the first stint.
Sainz able to get past Doohan, and Sainz up to 12. Doohan stopped under the safety car along with Esteban Ocon earlier on. They rolled the dice on the strategy DC.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Norris has done a great job on that set of hards to only be a few tenths slower than Piastri, who's running in clean air, knows he's got a race on, and we know that they can push on these tyres. To be within the same half second after all of these racing laps, it just shows the longevity of the Pirellis around this racetrack.
He's had a good drive so far, and Leclerc and Norris now will be hoping a safety car comes out, because that would suddenly bring them into play for a podium fight, because it makes the pit stop loss so much slower as everyone else has to go at reduced pace.
That's a replay of Carlos Sainz taking P12 to tell you how much he saved. He saved 9 seconds under the safety car. If that was to happen about now, you can see the degradation of the tyres off the racing line, the marbles, the little balls of rubber from the worn-away Pirellis that we have off the racing line to the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the fastest route around the circuit, showing that even though it's a smooth surface and a high grip surface, it is one that's causing a little bit more degradation. Certainly Mercedes with George Russell having trouble with that in the way that they did not have last week in Bahrain.
Ferrari looks really good though on the mediums. Leclerc's again pumped in his best lap of the race. He's only 0.3 slower than Norris, and Norris is going on that hard tyre that's really durable.
This is Liam Lawson moving up to 15th place, and Bortoletto nearly gets clipped by the man who's part of his management team. Fernando Alonso gets by as well. It was off the road, and Fernando Alonso will feather back and give the position up, and it was nearly a more consequential collision between these two.
Yeah, I think that was Bortoletto just didn't see Alonso coming, so Alonso's cat-like reactions enabling him to avoid an incident. So I'm not really sure he needed to give that one back. Well, he did in terms of gaining an advantage, but he gained an advantage by avoiding a crash.
Bortoletto almost put him in the wall. There was only just the space. I completely agree. I think he was so busy trying to get back to the racing line to go and attack Lawson again.
That was close. Wow, so close. Check the car.
One feels that Fernando might add an extra 5% on his management fee just to teach him a lesson.
He had no idea he was there, did he? He's come from the inside, he's got mirrors full of Lawson, he's not expecting.
That was close. Wow, so close. Check the car.
From the two-time world champion, 43-year-old Fernando Alonso, most experienced Formula One driver in history when it comes to race starts and seasons raced. Was happy that he could still continue in this race. Alonso searching for his first points of the season, and he's only in 16th position, but he gets by the Sauber into turn one this time with a lot less drama. And before that, we were looking at Carlos Sainz, who has cleared Doohan, and now he has cleared Esteban Ocon. Doohan and Ocon both stopping under the safety car that we had on the opening lap of the Grand Prix, thanks to a collision between Tsunoda and Gasly. And race control looking at that one after the...
There's no deck on these tyres. Well, there is some deck, of course, but you actually look at it, in relative terms, there's hardly any deck when you look at the time that Leclerc and Norris are doing relative to Piastri and Verstappen on the fresher rubber.
Leclerc's doing some magic on those mediums. Another lap, this is his best lap of the race, and again, right on pace with Norris, slightly quicker, only a couple of tenths slower than Piastri on mediums that the rest were struggling with. Piastri was dropping away, Russell said the tyres were overheating. Now Leclerc's got clear air, and he is going and going. They may look at putting on a soft at some point later in this race to go and have a real attack, and if he can keep extracting this level of pace, or there's a safety car, then Leclerc can get a podium today.
I like that, putting on a soft. I hope that whispers through to the Ferrari race strategists. Do something different.
He's just done the fastest first sector of the Grand Prix. He's really in contention with George Russell. He's directly in contention with Lando Norris. Those two haven't pitted. If he pits now, he's coming out 3 seconds behind Russell. If he goes on another 10 laps, he'll chuck on the softs and go hunting.
Oliver Behrman, point scorer with Ferrari 1 year ago when he was subbing in for Carlos Sainz, who's on the left-hand side of your picture, and he is 0.8 of a second behind the other Sauber in this race. Hulkenberg scoring points in the opening Grand Prix of the year. They have not visited the top 10 since. It's lap 27 of 50. Mercedes and McLaren were struggling with that medium tyre. Max Verstappen didn't, but he had the clear air. Charles Leclerc now has the clear air out front as the race leader. And the Mercedes has struggled with tyre temperature. The McLaren has struggled with tyre temperature. The lead car, that clear air, is worth so much at this stage of the regulations. A new technical rule book for 2026. This is the last year of the regulations that we adopted in 2022. Looking at the Ferrari in the lead, Charles Leclerc trying to score his first podium of the season. P4, his best so far in F1 2025.
Piastri's just easing towards the back of Norris. He was half a second quicker on the last lap of Norris and Leclerc on the fresher hards. Norris doesn't want to have to get the call to jump out of the way of his teammate who's in race winning contention. But if Piastri gets too close, I'd expect that to come from McLaren, and that would just hurt Lando's race time himself in his battle for an outside shot at a podium at this stage. So he wants to put the pressure on Leclerc and keep clear of his teammate.
Alex Albon has got past Esteban Ocon, and we're on board with Liam Lawson, who's going to improve past Jack Doohan. And that is the move complete up to 14th. Trying to keep wheel on the road as he goes deep into the first turn. Lawson rebuilding his confidence after being dropped from the senior Red Bull team. Back to the Racing Bulls entry where he had his Formula 1 debut, and he continues on trying to score his first points of the season. Alonso, Lawson, Doohan and Bortoleto, the only 4 drivers yet to score this year, and this was the move a few moments ago. Carlos Sainz getting past Hulkenberg, and that is for the final point as it stands.
Sainz is yet to take the checker flag in the top 10. Points only in China with a load of disqualifications late on. Lawson's exceeded track limits on turn 1 there to complete that pass. Potentially was a bit of a tight one, but Sainz is having a very strong drive, has made his pit stop and is back into the top 10 now.
Next we move on to Hadjar, who has started on the harder compound, so he's run a very long stint here, and he's got Kimi Antonelli trying to retake the position. Antonelli, who's only missed the points on 1 occasion so far in Formula 1 when it comes to Grand Prix, and he's trying to score another points finish. The driver who, in Japan, youngest driver ever to lead a lap of a Formula 1 race, and the youngest driver ever to score a fastest lap point. Alex Albon is the next Williams to pass, and he goes by Hulkenberg down to 12th. Williams running nicely with Sainz and Albon, and Albon was really encouraged with the overall performance. Disappointed to be knocked out in Q2 yesterday, but he's not too far away from his teammate as well. Albon trying to return to the points after missing out for the first time this season a week ago in Bahrain.
They could really use a double points finish as well, Williams. Strong driver lineup for a midfield team, and as you say, missed out on points totally with both cars in Bahrain. Jumped by Haas, who had their double point score for fifth in the constructors at this early stage, but this is a much stronger weekend for them.
On board to the first turn we go, and another position again. Fernando Alonso finds himself improving further. This is Charles Leclerc finally getting rid of those medium tyres, and he was able to get performance from that medium tyre in the clear air of the lead. That was comparable to George Russell, and Russell's under threat now for 4th position.
So he hasn't gone long enough to put on a soft in a very aggressive strategy, but he has got a nice chance to go hard tyres and much fresher hard tyres than those ahead.
This is Antonelli getting past Isaac Hadjar, and the Italian gets by the Frenchman. These two both racing in Formula 2 last year. Hadjar, a contender for the title in his 2nd season, just missed out to Gabriel Bortoleto. And Kimi Antonelli finished P6 in that championship. He skipped Formula 3 to go straight to Formula 2. Very unusual, you hardly ever see it. But Mercedes desperate to promote him into Formula 1 after Lewis Hamilton left for Ferrari.
So now Norris has the clear air at the front of the field. He's no longer got the red Ferrari in his sights. And we'll see what sort of pace he can do on a 30-lap-old hard tyre. His teammate just behind has been closing the gap bit by bit, but now we've got Norris on clear air. We'll see the degradation on this hard tyre. Ferrari and Leclerc will be hoping there is some, because then he'll have a bit of a gain to go and chase Russell for what is still a net 3rd. Norris has to make his pit stop, remember.
Lando Norris, the winner of the opening Grand Prix of the year, the points leader by 3 coming into this one. But a costly crash in qualifying meant that he had to take on an alternative strategy. His teammate 3 points back in the World Championship, is 3 seconds back on the road. Norris having to use 2 compounds of tyre as per the rule book, and he makes his way through. And then it will all be about the second part of the race for him, attacking on the softer compound, and you're looking at the fast sweepers, even with the cars heavy with fuel, with degrading tyres. Incredible speeds, incredible direction change. This is the battle for 9th place. Carlos Sainz trying to improve past the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll. Stroll, another driver to start the Grand Prix on the hards. Here comes the Williams man then in the DRS. 200 miles per hour as Sainz, who has had great pace all the way through the weekend, gets by currently in 9th place.
Yeah, this is making a lot of sense for Norris. His times are still good enough, only a couple tenths slower than Piastri behind, who's getting that little step-by-step onto the back of him. But if a safety car was to come, then it neutralizes some of the damage of the pit stop. So if he can continue to keep doing the times, stay out.
If a safety car comes, Norris can win this race with the way he's going. He's just on the best first sector of the Grand Prix on this lap. He has got pace in the hard tyres. That also means that Piastri, Verstappen and Russell will presumably have pace on the hard tyres to the end of the race, and they're not going to have a big drop-off with some degradation. We didn't expect that on the hard tyre, but if Norris could put on, well, he has to put on a medium or possibly a soft, but more likely a medium for the final stint, he will have a tyre advantage in terms of sheer pace, and if there's a safety car, he'll come out right with the race leaders too.
Tidy pass for Oliver Behrman, able to get past Jack Doohan, outside line, inside line, and up to 16th for the British team.
Yeah, nice pass there. Still trying to figure things out. That's a rookie driver midway through the Grand Prix in Jeddah. He got away with it.
Concentration, first signs of dehydration will be kicking in, and in the end, you do not get away with touching concrete very often. Somewhere like Monaco, Singapore, anywhere with this metal arm coat, you can lean on the arm coat. There's some flex there. That's why you walk the track and understand where are the pillars. Normally you don't put them right at the apex to allow that beautiful little movement you get from the metal. Concrete, not so much.
This is Alex Albon improving to points paying positions. 2 Williams there at the moment. Stroll just hoping for that safety car running as long as possible. Stroll in 11th, Hulkenberg in 12th doing the same as well. It's that 32 of 50. And Piastri is closing in on Lando Norris. Norris, who started in 10th, currently leading, but still has to pit.
I've got to imagine. Yeah, sorry, Julian. I've got to imagine his engineers on there giving him some encouragement, rebuilding his confidence. This is a brilliant job from Norris.
Yeah, he's only losing tiny bits, a couple of tenths now per lap to his teammate as Leclerc pumps in the fastest lap of the race, some 4 tenths, nearly half a second quicker than George Russell. So this is the fight for what currently would be 3rd position once Norris pits. Lando's hanging on in there and giving himself and the team some strategic options yet.
There is Charles Leclerc, best finish so far this year, on 4th place. He's in the mix with a slightly different strategy last time out, but the timing of the safety car interrupted that possibility. Brilliant wheel-to-wheel battles in Bahrain. First turn at the 4th turn. We're on board with Liam Lawson, who is trying to improve past Esteban Ocon. Lawson, who stopped 12 laps ago, goes past the Haas, and that is the difference between old rubber and new, and he's up to 13th.
Ocon chanced it, didn't he, with the strategy today?
Lando's plan is to keep extending, something like plan C, target +4 for him.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to feel the dirty air a little bit.
102連続フル
Lando's plan is to keep
オ
extending,
コンはまだハードスタートで、
target +4 for him.
ごめんなさい、ミディアムスタートで1周目にハードに変えて、ここで抜かれまして、ローソン13番で、
Might be compromising my one. Make a decision.
So what do you think the team do here, DC? You've got one car that is now looking quite comfortable for the race lead. It's 4.9 seconds clear of Max. Do McLaren make absolute sure by getting Lando to jump out of the way and make this an even cushier run to the flag with only 16 laps left for Piastri? Or do they say, actually, Oscar, just back off a little bit, cool it down, we need to maximise Lando's race?
That's a brilliant question, of which I'm not qualified to answer. You do 2 things. You either say to the engineers, you do your race, do your best race for your drivers, and then what we're seeing is happening. That's Norris staying out. If you are taking an overview of you don't want to take any risk of putting Oscar under pressure from Verstappen, then you bring Norris in because he was out of position because of his mistake early in the Grand Prix.
I mean, McLaren have a chance to almost guarantee the win for Oscar now, because they have Lando there that can act as a buffer if there needs be later on. But that would sacrifice Norris's race. And Norris is the championship leader as things stand. He's still there, 1 point clear. So it's a difficult one, trying to keep both drivers' aspirations alive. This could be the answer right now. Norris pitting potentially.
He has been instructed to come in, so the debate has been had, and McLaren want to score another win. Piastri is the only multiple winner so far this season. Oh, that's late on the brakes for Lando Norris, trying to have the most efficient route to his team, who are the first one in the queue, thanks to winning the Constructors' Championship last year. But that was late on the brakes to get to the control line, where you have to be at the pit speed limit. Piastri leads the Grand Prix by 4.4 seconds.
Here we go then, straight fight to the end of the race as things stand. That is it on the left-hand side, your timing tower, 4.2 seconds, Piastri and Verstappen. Has Max got anything left? And has Lando managed to get in the pits okay with that massive lockup? He was down on speed, okay.
Yeah, just looking at the dash there with the display. Well, late on the brakes. Again, the name of the game is be latest on the brakes everywhere. This is part of the racetrack, so how the driver presents the car to his pit crew, absolutely crucial.
Oh, it's a hair-raising moment for the current championship leader, on course to lose the championship lead. Let's show you the live points at the bottom of your screen. Oscar Piastri heading to 99 points and the championship lead for the first time in his Formula One career. The driver in his third season of the championship, a former winner of Formula 3 and Formula 2, finds himself in position to be the lead McLaren and to be the leading driver in Formula 1. We've still got a long way to go. We've still got the walls very close. Kimi Antonelli very nearly, a couple of centimetres away from ending his race and changing the battle for the lead entirely. They are pushing on with every single lap, especially if your name is George Russell, because you've got Charles Leclerc behind, and Russell trying to return to the podium. He's only missed it on one occasion so far this year. That was in Japan, in Australia, China, and last time out in Bahrain, he has been in the top three by the end of the Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc trying to change that today.
So Leclerc has 9 laps fresher tyres as he jumps on the gas coming out of turn 2 and starts using the rear grip that his new hards have got. He is 0.6 a lap quicker than George Russell at the moment. So we see black and white flag for Bortoletto. That was for nearly putting Alonso in the wall, and they both just about got away with it. The fight for third is going to really narrow up, because then you've got Norris on completely fresh mediums who will be able to chase them, and the mediums should be okay for Lando to stay in with this short distance on a light car to the end of the race. So they're kind of in reverse pace order now. How wide can Russell make his Mercedes with Leclerc so close to the DRS now?
They're riding on board. This is turn 19. It was. This is now Fred Vasseur, who was telling everyone to calm down a little bit after Ferrari had a slower start to the season than they were used to, certainly in comparison to what we saw in the back end of last year, where in the second half of the season they were the top point-scoring team in Formula 1. They have not had the start to the campaign that they wanted. Charles Leclerc running in P4, but he does have the favourable tyre life and the favourable strategy to take a first podium of the season. Fastest middle sector of the entire race so far for Lando Norris, who's in 5th position.
Able to use those tyres to good effect, and well, the gap out front, Piastri Verstappen, is that tantalising number of just under the 5 seconds, the penalty that he picked up for that first lap infringement.
I don't think he'll look at it like that, because the alternative to getting the 5-second penalty was to cede the position, and either way I think we'd be here. The penalty has been the cause rather than the on-track move, but I think the order is sort of outed between the McLaren and the Red Bull at the front of the field at the moment, and it does seem like, again, track position is king. If you can get the clear air, then you're able to look after the tyres much better, and George Russell seems to be the car chiefly struggling with that right now with the front pack. Leclerc is within DRS range, and there are 3 shots of it coming up right now for him to try and put pressure on George.
You have the main straight, you have the journey down to the final corner, and you have the run down to where we are right now. You can see turn 23 is when you will put on the brakes. 22, 23, Russell standing wider on the turn-in. The Mercedes just not in the sweet spot of the setup, and it's looked that way across the course of the weekend. One lap pace looked really good with George Russell. He said after qualifying he would have been pretty happy when it came to being P3, but he was disappointed to miss out on pole. Mercedes back down to earth today, and it might be in a few moments' time back to fourth position. This is the first opportunity for Charles Leclerc, the Ferrari driver that we're on board with at the moment, building up to 200 miles per hour, building up to third place in the Grand Prix. His pace on the medium tyres rewarded on the hard, and Charles Leclerc is on for a first podium of the campaign.
And that is a critical pass for Leclerc as well, because behind them they've got Lando Norris has just put in the fastest lap by 1 second quicker than George Russell, so he needed to clear Russell straight away, and now he's managed to do that. It's a beautiful pass, nicely set up, and really a great race performance so far from Charles.
His tyre management has been exceptional.
Well done, Charles.
Thank you, Brian.
So as we were talking about, you know, engineers being part sports psychologists, a little bit of tongue-in-cheek with that one.
I just love the Ferrari team radios between those two, particularly this year. It's great. The coolness from the... So polite.
They're going to have a greatest hits album by the end of the campaign. Really had some fun between the two of them, with the comment about the water here in the air. And now Charles Leclerc having a much better race performance and finding himself in third, but Lando Norris still in contention. There's a 10-second time penalty for Liam Lawson for leaving the track and gaining the advantage, and he did it at this turn.
So that is the move that we saw. It was on Jack Doohan a while ago. It was tight, but I thought I saw it at the time, and the stewards have obviously agreed. And that's what I said at the time when Max got the 5 seconds. Normally it is a 10-second penalty, and that's what the stewards are there applied to Liam Lawson. So I can only assume first corner, first lap is why the stewards sort of chose a middle ground for Max.
Yeah, I think that is the case, but I also feel that 10 seconds needs to be reviewed going forward.
I don't mind it, you know, because I actually think you can gain so much in getting track position, and if you cut the corner to do it.
It's like a red flashing light on a balcony. It's really annoying. It's identical to a red flag.
Copy, will report.
That could be anything, because the track doesn't control the apartment blocks around.
This is the Aston Martins racing, and no, it's not going to be the Aston Martins racing.
It's really annoying. It's identical to a red flag.
Copy, will report.
Keep Ponting promo shot for the Ashes a few years back, and that reminds me of a bowler saying, and a batsman saying, hey, just something behind the sight screen, can you move someone in the crowd there? And the Aussie, who's on course to lead the World Championship, wants someone to turn off the red light on a balcony.
Well, imagine being that individual on the balcony.
I think you're being paranoid. If you want me, I do it, but we have plenty of space to put away now.
We like first to get Alex in our DRS, and once in the DRS we use our pace.
The Williams doing a little bit of synchronized swimming at the moment. Carlos Sainz on for a great finish here, and he's been targeting that. Had the one lap pace in Bahrain.
We like first to get Alex in our DRS, and once in the DRS we use our pace.
To see whether he nipped across the pit lane exit. That white line, it's very clearly marked, and after getting that message, I'm sure we'll get a replay which will tell us.
I didn't spot that at the time, but It's not a great one for Norris, who wasn't fighting wheel to wheel with anyone coming out of the pits. He is now fighting with George Russell, and he's going to need to clear Russell quickly if he's got a 5-second penalty coming to try and disappear away from that Mercedes as well. But you don't normally see those messages if there's not some sort of penalty coming.
Lando Norris trying to improve, and he's remembered earlier in the race he had the pace to dive to the inside there, didn't want to though because of the DRS zone that follows turn 27. Onto the main straight we go. It's going to be a move for 4th position, but Lando Norris is going to have to build a gap, you would expect, of 5 seconds if race control can find conclusive evidence that he crossed the white line on the pit exit.
And they'll have a camera which gives them clear sight of whether that front, right, left as we look at it, has gone across the line.
This is after the radio message from Esteban Ocon to Oliver Behrman, swap the positions, and Ocon told to not fight his teammate, just like we saw with the Astons a few moments ago. So we had a few strategy gambles earlier on from DAZN and Ocon, and the safety car. That is a gamble because the safety car has never appeared after lap 20 in the history of this Grand Prix. It's the 5th Saudi Arabian Grand Prix tonight, so we've always had a safety car or a red flag, but we've never had one after lap 20. And Ocon and DAZN were hoping that was going to change this evening, but they are drifting back out of the place.
You know, several laps ago when I said the gap between Piastri and Verstappen was 4.6 seconds. Well, it's still 4.6 seconds.
Yeah, across the line as they began lap 42. It was 4.6 and just consistent pace between the two of them at the moment, as Verstappen currently finding himself losing a chance to convert his second pole position of the season to a second win, and Oscar Piastri's not too far away though, 4.3 as he manages the gap, trying to win his 3rd Grand Prix of the season.
I think Red Bull will generally be buoyed by this though. This was a team that Helmut Marko came out after last week and said, we're worried about Max's future, is he going to leave? Max was really unhappy with the performance of the team in Bahrain, and he just about cleared an Alpine for 6th at the end of the race. The pit stops all went pretty woefully. Apart from Max losing it off the line, he could have won this. Took pole position, had 2 laps in Q3 that were quicker than the McLarens, and you know, the pace has been really there or thereabouts. So I think that for the long term of this season, it's really encouraging for Verstappen and Red Bull.
It's getting very, very close between Isaac Hadjar in the Racing Bull white car in front of you, chasing the blue Williams ahead. And Williams were thinking about this double point scoring finish, asking Sainz to make sure that Albon stays within his DRS. Key replay now for Lando Norris, who was cooling his hands in second gear, about to leave the pit lane. Does he cross the white line with any part of the tyre? Let's find out. So that was the inside, crossing the line at pit exit, because it's not the one as he rejoins the racetrack, and that's what's being reviewed by race control at the moment. So it was intense on the way in for Lando Norris as he locked up the tyres, and has he placed a wheel over the white line and contradicted the race director's instructions, which would be a 5-second penalty if he did, which would take away his chance, you would think, of getting past Charles Leclerc at the end, with 5 seconds added to his race time. That would be the question. It's lap 43 of 50. Oscar Piastri, our only multiple winner of the year, the 24-year-old from Melbourne, is leading on his way to take the championship lead. Max Verstappen finds himself in second place, trying to do something about that gap. Last time around, he was a 10th faster than the McLaren, but it's not able to progress at this stage. Key battle going on further down the constructors table, with Sainz playing the team game, making sure that Albon can defend. He's getting the advantage of the DRS opening on 3 occasions around the lap. Sainz trying to score his best result for Williams. P8 was the aim. P8 may well be what he is able to score and bring his teammate along as well. Hadjar is trying to outwit not just one, but 2 Williams cars that are currently ahead of him. And now we see the race leader, Oscar Piastri, took his maiden pole position in China, converted it into victory in Bahrain. It was a really comfortable performance, just managing the gap all the way through. He had a late safety car restart, dealt with it really nicely, won the Grand Prix by 15 seconds. There's no further investigation for Lando Norris, failing to follow the race directions instructions, because it's not the key white line that he crossed.
Yeah, I didn't think it was when I saw it there. It looked like he stayed within the track. Normally it's when you cross over the outside line onto the racetrack for safety reasons. And it looked okay from Norris. So a bit of a bizarre one there to have that flagged. And it looked okay. I tell you what, when he came in the pits, he was all smoked up, trying to stay on within the white line on the entry there as he was locked up. You could see him fighting to keep a wheel on the entry part of it, but on the way out, it looked okay. So 3 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. I don't think it's going to change his race whatsoever, but at least there's a bit of hope there for Norris that if Leclerc makes a mistake, he can fight him for a podium.
Charles Leclerc last time around a 132.2, last time around for Lando Norris a 131.8. As we find ourselves into the final stages, so it was all about when the safety car was going to hit earlier on. It came on lap number 1. And as a result, it did not affect the battle for the lead. But it's all about that first turn, that controversial moment, adding 5 seconds to Max Verstappen at the pit stop. Whoever's got clear air is getting a real advantage. Verstappen was in the mix to win this Grand Prix.
He was. He had a great first stint, but it was just a getaway. And it's not very often you see Max beaten from pole position off the line. He's managed to get his starts fairly well sorted. But today, it was just that grip off the line that got Oscar down the inside. And then he basically had a choice of ceding the place or catching the corner and keeping it. And either way, he'd have ended up in second in today's Grand Prix after the pits. Nonetheless, 3.7 seconds shows that the pace is roughly there. Hadjar's having another great drive.
He is. I was about to say, is he getting to the point where he can shape for a move here? And Lawson not too far away as well. Lawson 2.8 seconds behind his teammate. It's Williams, Hadjar in the racing bull, and then Lawson in the racing bull.
Yeah, we can see what it looks like to be a rookie in 10th position, having a little check of the left mirror as he comes onto the start finish to see where his teammate is behind. Has a Japanese engineer on the straight as well, and brakes once again in line behind Alex Albon. So we've got Williams and Williams ahead, and what Williams are doing here is the old truck and trailer. And Carlos Sainz is the innovator of this from his Singapore Grand Prix win a couple of years ago. So long as he has Albon within his DRS range, then Isaac Hadjar doesn't have the benefit of DRS on Albon, because Albon also has that benefit. And they're just lining up to stop Hadjar, picking them off one by one. If Albon drops away, then Hadjar on fresh mediums should have the pace to dispatch of the two of them.
And this is why Williams was so desperate to sign Carlos Sainz, who has been the lead Williams driver on the grid for the last 2 races. Alex Albon has been on his own for the last couple of years, fighting.
Needs to get out of the way.
So Piastri is now catching traffic at the end and getting a little bit.
Catching. Yeah, a couple of cars fighting it out over 16th position. And they do need to get out of the way, but still Oscar has enough margin. It's down to 3.2 seconds, so it is dropping down, and we know that Verstappen, if he sniffs a victory, he will absolutely go for it.
Well, if you, as we saw with Max Verstappen after the pit stop, if you catch a slower car at a certain part of this circuit, you can be restricted to their pace for basically the entire lap, and still Piastri is behind the two of them.
And this is hurting Oscar a lot. He's lost 8 tenths in that first sector. The gap is almost less than 3 seconds, so it is really hurting him where he's caught those 2 back markers. Leclerc had a similar thing on the last lap. He was 9 tenths slower than Norris, which is why, as we jump on board Lando with 4 laps remaining, we can see the Ferrari just ahead. It's only 1.8 seconds the gap, and this is the fight for 3rd position.
Stroll has let Piastri go. Bortoleto will do the same thing, and that's into the first turn. That's where we're heading on board with Lando Norris, who will be desperately trying to make his way by. Stroll's got past Bortoletto whilst all of that was going on. The top of your timing tower, though, it's Piastri, 3.1 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen. Piastri knows the job is not done yet. He's ticking off the laps, though. This is 47 of 50.
Norris absolutely on it through that first chicane, clambering over the curves, attacking turn one there with so much speed, which has been his trait through the whole weekend. And we shouldn't forget, really, Lando's been the quickest driver for so much of this weekend. He's been very, very hooked up around this circuit. Just one crash in Q3 has derailed his whole weekend and changed the narrative. But this is a driver that's been on form in all the practices in Q1 and Q2 as well. He knows how to drive it, and he is really giving it everything to get back to third. This is Stroll with Piastri coming past. He's trying to sneak around the outside of Bortoletto. And that time it looked like Bortoletto might have known there was an Aston Martin on his outside, but didn't care too much to defend.
So Stroll finds his way by, and both of them cleared out of the way of our race leader. 3.4 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen. The run down to the first turn, 148 metres to be exact. Looking defining in this race. The penalty applied to Max Verstappen, and Charles Leclerc having a really good time on the medium tyre. 17 lap-old hard tyres, and far longer than the top three. The problem for him is that Lando Norris did it the other way round, hard tyre to the medium, and it's 13 lap-old medium rubber that Norris with the McLaren is closing in on. Can he give himself a chance? It's 1.7 seconds. Can Lando Norris find his way inside the magical 1 second window and give himself a chance of keeping this run going, of always being on the podium in every single Grand Prix this year?
The thing is, Leclerc's not struggling on his tyres. He pitted so late with that fantastic first stint that he's quicker than everyone else on track, apart from Norris.
Not looking good at all. We've got any concerns? Bloody get him to the end. I've got a band on the inside shoulder. So
Russell's not been happy with his tyre degradation all day, and then he's a little bit worried about getting that.
ただノリスがまた近づいてきまして1秒6。
not looking good at all.
マーピよりタイヤしないもんな。
Get him to the end. I've got a band on the inside. Not looking good. Shoulder. So
Ahead of Leclerc, with the way that Mercedes and Ferrari have been going so far this weekend, but they've just been chewing through their tyres so much, so he's struggling with the inside shoulder. That's where the contact patch of the tyre is, and it's just wearing down because he's been on the hards for a long time now, 27 laps. But the team say no concerns, and at this point they've got the luxury of being able to back off quite considerably. Lewis Hamilton's in the mirrors of Kimi Antonelli, but there's not enough time for him to really be able to do anything about that. And George has got a huge amount of time still back to his teammate, so they'll coast back, but it'll be, I would have thought, a little bit of a head-scratching debrief for Mercedes.
No concerns for Mercedes. They are at the brink of what Pirelli advises a sensible tyre stint on those hards, but Piastri has gone beyond that. So we are nearly ready to wave the checkered flag for Oscar Piastri. Piastri looking for his third Grand Prix win of the season and only his fifth win all time in Formula One. This will be a big moment for Oscar Piastri, who is looking to add to the wins that we saw last year in Budapest and Baku. He did the strategic game in Baku, played it nicely, got everything right in Budapest, and then in Baku, a late-breaking move to take the lead on Charles Leclerc, and he stayed there under intense pressure. But this, he knew, was going to be his race to lose. He knew that last week. He won last week, and he is nearly onto his final lap.
Yeah, all he can do is play the competition in front of him, and that was Max Verstappen today, and he managed to get that into the first corner. And since then, he's had it the hard way. He's dropped back. McLaren have done a good job on the strategy today by pitting early and making sure they stayed within 5 seconds of Max, not leaving that to doubt. And so Oscar will be the championship leader in 1 lap's time if nothing else dramatic kicks off. And I don't think Lando's going to quite be able to get back to Charles as well. 1.3 seconds between these two in third and fourth. But you know, I said Red Bull will be happy with their pace so far this weekend and on this race day as well. But I tend to think if Leclerc had started this one on pole, he's got the pace to win. win it with the pace that they've had. They were so miserable yesterday, Ferrari. Leclerc particularly thought 3.5 tenths away on a circuit he's good at, hooked up the lap, win nowhere. But today they've been as fast as anyone, and he's within 8 seconds of the race win.
An encouraging race pace for Ferrari, who keep trying something different with the strategy. You can get your car into clear air. It works so differently, it works so much more efficiently. And you can see the story of the race. We're on the final lap of the Grand Prix with Oscar Piastri heading down to turn 22. We ride on board with the man from Melbourne who is coaxing it through the final corners. He got that apex into the first turn, and he took the lead in the pit stop phase. He's about to take the points lead in the battle to be the Drivers' World Champion. This is the final corner of the last lap, and a champion of Formula 3, a champion of Formula 2, is the new championship leader in Formula 1. Oscar Piastri wins the Saudi Grand Prix to beat Max Verstappen by 2.8 seconds. Charles Leclerc scores Ferrari's first podium finish of the season, chased all the way home by Lando Norris, who went from 10th on the grid to 4th in the race. But it's Piastri who improves from the front row to the win, and he succeeds his mentor Mark Webber, the first Australian driver to lead the championship in 15 years.
Backslaps at McLaren because they've had to work for this one as well. Piastri's done a great job. Oscar's really measured this one from the start. He's so cool and calm, isn't he, that you give him a chance and he's very liable to take it. And once he's in the race lead, that McLaren was working nicely. He never had to look out again.
Hadjar looking for that late braking move, but he will claim a second points finish in Formula 1. It's Russell in 5th, Antonelli in 6th, Hamilton was 7th, and a double point score for Williams, with Carlos Sainz leading Alex Albon across the line. The teamwork to deny Isaac Hadjar, who finds himself with a second points finish in Formula 1.
Very well done. Lovely job, Oscar. Great work, mate. Really good.
Well done, everyone. It was a little bit more difficult to start than I had hoped for, but yeah, very, very well done. Car was great. Dirty air, not so much, but I'm glad that dirty air's from lapping people, so well done, everybody. Massive 3 weeks, and let's keep it going. Got a lot of fun to have this year.
Yeah, great job.
He's a cool character, Oscar Piastri. You could hear the smile on the team radio there. He said 2 years ago.
Yeah, very, very well done.
Very well done. Lovely job, Oscar.
Dirty air, not so much.
Great work, mate. Really good.
I'm glad the dirty air's from lapping people. Well done, everyone. It was a little bit more difficult to start than I had hoped for, but yeah, very, very well done this year. Car was great.
Great job.
Dirty air, not so much, but I'm glad the dirty air's from lapping people. So well done, everybody.
宇野ハダスと2人でコース外に消えていったから意味深。ピアオネ。
Points today, so but most importantly, very good pace.
Yeah, exactly that. Well done, everyone.
Max Verstappen, the driver of the day. And Max Verstappen still in the fight for a 5th consecutive World Championship. His qualifying performances are one thing, but that race pace, that's the underlying thing from Red Bull today. They were able to chase the McLarens home, and it wasn't the dominant one lap.
Yeah, exactly that.
What can I say, mate? Well executed race.
まあ良かったねっていうことで、まあ全体週末いい週末になったし、あとペースがあったから良かったねということで、それがポジティブなことだ。まあでも2位全力尽くしたけど、まあこれ2位で、まあそれはもう仕方ないことだねって言ったら、副車オーナーがね本当にこの3週間素晴らしい。でトップから2秒8秒差っていうのもね素晴らしい結果だし、それ順位よりもペースがあったってことがいいポジティブなことだね。まあ1コーナーに関してはいろいろちょっと意見が分かれるところだけどっていう。
Back-to-back wins, 3 wins from the first 5 races, and had he not gone off in that rain shower in Melbourne, he'd be out front in the championship lead. He'd be with a bit of a margin back to his teammates. So it shows what a great job he's done, and he's just a applying the pressure. Every session, every race. He's looking like a veteran now. And he's taking in the applause. What a time for Oscar Piastri.
Oscar Piastri shaking hands, celebrating and getting a big hug from Zach Brown, the CEO of McLaren, who has 2 charges for the title. They've both led the points now. And Oscar's crew congratulating him. Still our only multiple winner of the year. 1 win for Lando Norris, 1 win for Max Verstappen. 3 wins for Oscar Piastri, who is enjoying the car. The fine men and women at Woking have built for him. Constructors champions are finding themselves once again leading. Good race, dude. Pretty much sums it up for Charles Leclerc. He'll be pleased with that one after cutting a disconsolate figure after qualifying yesterday.
He'd be my driver of the day, I think, today. 8 seconds off the win, 31 seconds ahead of his teammate. Really subdued day for Lewis Hamilton once again, and Leclerc gets the first Ferrari podium of the season. And some smiles back for that team as well. There's a week off now, and there's a chance for everyone to pour into the data, to have a breather as well, let's not forget, before we're back.
Piastri's put his name up in lights around the Jeddah Corniche circuit.
無理のない範囲でいきましょう。スプリント待機してます。
Max, who always seem to have a really intense debrief, those two. The rookie drivers we see there with point scores for Kimi Antonelli and Isaac Hadjar. Charles Leclerc checking in. We've basically got to the cool-down room early here, haven't we? And everyone having a breather. You can see the toll it takes on them. 50-lap Grand Prix, and the air temperature is 31 degrees. Having a glug of water. Crowd treated to some high-speed action out there.
Easy to forget how difficult it is to keep the concentration on a hot day like this, on a physical circuit. All absolutely feeling it at the end of 50 laps. On the limit, able to push the whole way with tyres that were lasting, especially those hard tyres that these guys have had on at the end of the race. I think Norris will be happy with 4th as well. Solid recovery from him and the fastest lap.
So the top 3 swapping stories of the race. I'm hoping to hear from them in a few moments' time. A couple of laps to go. We dispatched DC, who should be mic in hand, ready to go any second now. And as if by magic, let's hear from David Coulthard in conversation with the top 3.
Oscar Piastri, our new World Championship leader, your 5th victory around the fastest street circuit. Tell us your emotions right now.
Looking for a couch, I think, is the answer. It was a pretty tough race. Yeah, very happy to have obviously won, and yeah, made the difference at the start. Made my case into turn 1, and yeah, that was enough. It was really tricky to follow out there. I couldn't really stay with Max at the end of the first stint, just tune up my tyres, and then yeah, the clean air was nice after the pit stop. So great race. We did the parts we needed to right. Still need a bit more, I think. Max was a little bit too close for my liking, but a great race and a great weekend.
Certainly a great start. You touched on that. Your launch was awesome. You had to go toe-to-toe the first time that I recall you doing that with Max into turn 1, and in the end you stood your ground.
Yeah, once I got on the inside, I wasn't coming out turn 1